I was lucky enough to be brought up in a home where there's a lot of sound. I mean, like we had, my dad is very much into valve radios and gramophone and automatic gramophones, which has multiple discs falling one after another, and all automated for those days, mechanically automated. And so I grew up hearing radios and valve radios, big ones. We must be having we must have had at least 4 or something like that. And my eldest brother had a massive collection of record players, and he had amplifiers, speakers, big speakers, and all that sort. So this is how I grew up. My early days hearing all that, and I'm sure that influenced me, in doing sound. And then as I was in college, I was part of film society movements, and I was exposed to very many art cinemas, and particularly films from Bengal, apart from the art cinemas from Kerala and other places. I mean, it used to be like Bengali cinema and Malayalam cinema, of those early days, all art cinemas. So that helped me to get into film school, because all the questions they asked about cinema, particularly art cinemas, I could answer all that, because I had seen all that at that young age, and particularly a student of an applicant of sound doing that, talking about lots about cinema. So it was a walkover for me once I passed through the entrance test of FTI, which I was very apprehensive about, and I even almost refused to go and attend the entrance exam, because the chances were very little, very few seats, and so many people applying. So, but my father pushed me into going for the exam, and I got through. Once I got through, I knew I will be in, because it's orientation goes for 10 days and interview, and I knew this will be, because you have a face, you can deal with it, and I knew cinema quite, and that was a huge advantage, and I studied physics, so sound, the theory of sound I knew, and I was very much interested in applied physics, so if I hadn't come to FTI, I would have been doing some applied physics course, advanced course, and related work, I'm sure. And FTI sent me to Karlovy Vary Student Film Festival, which happens in Bratislava, Slovakia's capital at present. And that gave me even more exposure, met very many students from different parts of the world, and a lot of European film schools were represented over there. So that gave a really great exposure. And after that, I moved, after finishing the course, I moved to Bombay, the natural course of action. And I realized that in Bombay, after studying all this international cinema in and out, one is just doing pilot sound, that's what most seniors were doing, just pilot sound, which is never used in the film. And then editors would do some bit of track laying and all kinds of things, and mixing engineer will mix. So basically the role of sound recordist was like a bit pathetic, I felt, and I didn't want to join that. And so I tried to join a small studio as a chief, without assisting anybody. That was like another hell, I thought, because I used to work for like 20 hours, 4 hours sleep. I didn't even get to see daylight often, it was that bad. So I thought, I cannot survive this, I will leave sound itself in that case. So then I pursued Sync Sound, that was like meticulously pursued and pushed, and so for that I started doing documentaries, and then international producers and directors would come, and I was doing that kind of work, because that there the location sound was used. So I was very very specific about using the sound that we record. And then soon after, I realized the creative work of sound is all in sound design, And apart from the fancy travels and all that sort for documentaries and even fiction, I thought, it's time to start creating with sound. And sound design studio, there was none exclusive design studios were not there in the whole country at all. So I thought I should set up a sound design studio and to start with creative work, and that's what I did in Bombay. My studio is called Fireflies Post Sound. It's the first exclusive sound studio in India, and nobody encouraged me to do that. Everybody said, are you crazy? Bollywood, it's like just music and dialogue, and at best some Foley. And we, my team, literally pushed so hard and brought in sound design to films, and as a standard soon, in a couple of years, it became a standard that, fiction films would come for sound design, and that was really a great boost to my efforts, and I never looked back, and I continue to do very many films which are post-production as well, and which are like documentaries, art cinema, and middle-of-the-road films, and mainstream. That's where the money is. So one has been doing that as well, big budget films and all that sort. So my span of work spills over literally like all kinds of films, including anti-establishment and all kinds of films, and fiction, that's how. And I really enjoy my work, I'm glued to it, and it's really fascinating. If you ask me what I wanted to tell students of sound or anybody interested in sound in cinema or in anything, I must say it's such a fascinating world, and there's so much more to explore, and it's a lot happening, and so much to explore and figure out, and complex formations. Somehow a lot of focus has gone to picture and photography and videography and stuff like that, but brilliant work in sound very few people do, and that's most important. And we need a lot more talent, who can really explore various aspects of sound, and particularly in this country, where I feel it's quite ignored.